In this video, we're going to discuss about infinite limits. Let A be a subset of R, F be a function from A to R, and C, element of R, be a cluster point of A. So let's start with number 1. F tends to positive infinity as X tends to C if for all A element of R, there exists a positive delta such that for any X element of A with this condition, the distance of X and C must be less than delta but greater than 0. Then we have f of X is greater than A for all A. Okay, and then for this case, we will write limit of f of X as X approaches C equals positive infinity. So ano yung gustong sabihin ng definition na to? Ang gusto niyang sabihin, so meron daw na yung function daw natin ay nag-a-approach sa positive infinity as X approaches C kapag sa lahat ng real number, di ba tinagalog ko lang, kapag meron daw tayong nakitang delta na sa delta na yon, okay, kapag kumuha tayo ng value ng X, kahit anong value ng X sa loob ng A, okay, dun sa certain value ng delta, sa loob ng neighborhood, yung mga values ng X doon, kahit alin yung kunin natin doon, kapag sinubstitute natin sa F, or kinuha natin yung F of X, that F of X is always greater than A. Okay? So, kapag may ganong delta, na yung values ng X, kinuha yung f of X, tapos yung f of X is always greater than any real number, then that means yung function natin nag-approach sa infinity. Okay? So, ganun lang kasimple yung unang definition natin for infinite limits. Sa madaling salita, no? Okay, so makakapag-provide tayo ng delta na ang mangyayari doon, wala tayong makitang upper bound para kay f of X. Kasi si f of X, where X is within this interval, is always greater than any real number. Okay? So for number 2 naman, f tends to negative infinity as X tends to C. If for any B element of R, there exists delta, positive delta, such that for all X element of A with this condition, this implies f of X less than B. So ito naman, same case lang ng number 1, pero ang kinaiba naman, meron daw tayong provide na delta. Kapag meron tayong na-provide na positive delta, wherein sa loob ng mabubuong interval under this delta, any X na piliin natin sa interval na yon, kapag kinuha na natin yung f of X, okay, yung f of X na yon will always be less than any real number B. Okay? Or in short, yung values ng function wala na siyang lower bound. Okay? So ganun ka, sa madaling salita, walang lower bound yung second definition. If that is the case, then yung limit ng f of X as X approaches C is negative infinity. Example tayo. Okay? So, show that limit of 1 over X squared as X approaches 0 equals positive infinity. Okay, so meron tayong dalawang part dito sa proof. So, una, discussion muna. So, discussion. So, ang goal kasi dito, from the definition, dapat nga makapagpalabas tayo ng value ng delta. So dito under discussion, hahanapin natin kung ano yung delta na yun. So again, given A, let's use A greater than 0, positive A. So we need to show that merong positive delta such that, bakit positive A, makikita natin mamaya kasi may radical na involved. So if radical involved, maiiwasan natin yung imaginary number. Okay, so such that 0 less than absolute value of x minus 0 less than delta implies 1 over x squared is greater than A. Okay? So ito yung gamitin, sisimulan natin. So 1 over x squared para mahanap natin yung value ng delta. Now, so 1 over x squared greater than A, this implies i-reciprocal natin. Di ba kapag ni-reciprocal natin both sides, yung isa magiging 1 over A, mababaliktad yung inequality. And then kunin natin yung square root ng both sides. So x will be less than 1 over square root of A. So makikita nyo, no, naka-square root na yung A. So that's why our A must be greater than 0. Okay? So ito yung x natin. Okay? X must be less than 1 over square root of A. So ito yung ilat nating delta. So let delta be 1 over square root of A. Okay? So dun tayo sa proof. So for our proof, let A be greater than 0. Let's choose delta to be 1 over square root of A. Then, from the definition, 0 less than absolute value of x minus 0, yung c natin ay 0, no? Less than 1 over square root of A. So, ito yung pinili nating delta. This implies x minus 0 is x. So, that will be absolute value of x less than 1 over square root of A. And this implies x, square natin both sides. Okay, hindi na kailangan lagyan na absolute value pag naka-square yan. So, x squared less than 1 over A. Tapos, reciprocal natin. So, 1 over x squared, mababaliktad to, magiging greater than, tas ito, reciprocal A. So, as you can see, napalabas na natin, 1 over x squared, ito, greater than A for the chosen delta. So, nasatisfy natin yung definition, so this is done. Therefore, okay, nakalimutan ko conclusion muna. Therefore, limit of 1 over x squared as x approaches infinity, x approaches 0 is positive infinity, and this is done. Okay, so let's have a theorem. Let A be a subset of R, F, G be a functions from A to R, and let C be a cluster point of A. Then, if f of x is less than or equal to g of x for all x element of A, where x must not be equal to c, then limit of f of x as x approaches c is positive infinity implies limit of g of x as x approaches c equals positive infinity. Pansinin nyo, limit nung mas mababa implies limit nung mas mataas. Okay? If yung mas mababa nag-a-approach sa positive infinity, yung mas mataas mag-a-approach na rin automatic. Next, limit of g of x as x approaches c equals negative infinity implies limit of f of x as x approaches c is negative infinity. Okay? Or yung kapag yung mas mataas nag-approach sa negative infinity, yung mas mababa mag-a-approach na yan sa negative infinity. Okay? So, mukha siyang obvious, pero tignan natin sa graph yung gustong sabihin ng theorem na to. And then, after that, i-prove natin yung number 1. So, sa graph muna tayo. So, yung una, So let's say ito yung graph niya. Let's say ito yung C. And then this is C plus delta. Delta, and then this is C minus delta. Okay? So, kapag daw yung mas mababa, let's say ito yung f of x, nag-a-approach sa infinity, then yung mas mataas, automatic mag-a-approach din daw sa infinity. So, let's say ito yung f of x. Ito yung g of x. Okay? Then, sa second case naman, okay, so let's say we have C plus delta, and then C minus delta. So, dito naman sa case na to, kapag naman yung mas mataas nag-a-approach sa negative infinity, then yung mas mababa, automatic mag-a-approach na din siya sa negative infinity. Okay? So, let's prove this theorem. Ang ipoprove lang natin yung number 1 kasi halos similar lang naman yung proof nila. So, 1 lang yung i-prove natin. Okay, so for our proof, so ito yung hypothesis natin. So, suppose limit of f of x as x approaches C equals positive infinity. So, dito kailangan mapakita natin na yung limit ng g of x is positive infinity din. Okay? Now, let A be element of real number by definition of infinite limit. Then, may mag-e-exist na positive delta such that for all x element of A with 0 less than absolute value of x minus C less than delta, then f of x is greater than A. Tama? So, yan yung definition ng infinite limits na nag-a-approach sa positive infinity. Now, since yung f of x natin mas maliit or less than or equal sa g of x, so it follows that for 0 less than absolute value of x minus C less than delta, eto yon. This implies yung g of x which is greater than or equal sa f of x is greater than A. Okay? Kung yung f of x na mas maliit, greater than A, then ganun din si g of x. With this condition, kasi yung f of x na to ay galing dito sa condition na to. And this is the definition of limit, infinite limit. So therefore, or thus, limit g of x as x approaches C equals positive infinity. Okay, so this is done for number 1. Okay, so let's have the definition of infinite limits for one-sided limits. So ito combination ng one-sided limits, yung concept ng one-sided tsaka na infinite limits. So definition, let A be a subset of R, F is a function from A to R, and C element of R be a cluster point of A, intersection C, infinity. So kapag nakita nyo yan, no, ang pinag-uusapan na natin ay yung right hand limit. Okay, so if then yung una, limit of f of x as x approaches c from the right is positive infinity if it satisfies this condition. So ito, same lang sa definition nung infinite limits na nag-a-approach dun sa positive infinity. So same lang sa definition yon. Ang naiba lang, kung mapapansin niyo dito, hindi siya absolute value, x minus c. Kasi right hand lang yung pinag-uusapan natin. Yung mga nasa right ng c. So, we don't need absolute value. So, similar with number 2. Okay, na nag-approach sa negative infinity. So, ganun lang din yung definition niya. Pero dito, okay, ganun lang din. X minus c na lang. So, dito naman, so ito for right hand. Okay, infinite limits sa right hand limit. So, ito naman yung sa left hand limit. Okay, kung mapapansin nyo, x approaches c from the left. Okay, and then same definition, but ang naiba lang ulit ay ito, c minus x. So, alam na natin yan sa one-sided limit na discuss na natin kung bakit c minus x yan. Tapos, so ito yung definition ng infinite limits. So, ang naiba lang c minus x. Okay? So, example tayo. Okay, so example. So, magbibigay ako ng dalawang example. Number 1. Show that limit of 1 over x as x approaches 0 from the right is positive infinity provided that x must not be equal to 0. Okay, kasi hindi pwedeng hindi pwedeng mag-equal yung x tsaka 0 since it is a cluster point. Okay? Okay. So, continue. So, for discussion, dalawang part to. Discussion muna. Okay, so given a greater than 0. So, ang pinag-uusapan natin dito yung mga nasa right. So, yun na lang din yung kunin natin for a. Okay. So, we want positive delta. Kailangan nating makapagpalabas ng positive delta such that 0 less than x minus 0 less than delta must imply 1 over x greater than a. Okay? So, ito ulit gamitin natin. 1 over x greater than a. 1 over x greater than a. This is x less than 1 over a. Reciprocal. Mababago yung direction. So, yung x natin less than 1 over a. So, kapag ganito na siya, then, iset natin delta to be 1 over a. So, doon na tayo sa proof. So, for our proof, let a be greater than 0. Choose delta to be equal to 1 over a. Then, from definition, this will be 0 less than x minus 0 less than delta implies x, yung x minus 0 magiging x na lang yan, less than delta. And ano yung delta natin? Yung 1 over a. Tapos reciprocal natin. Di ba parang na-reverse lang yung process sa discussion. 1 over x greater than a. So, napalabas na natin 1 over x greater than a. So, therefore, limit 1 over x approaches 0 from the right, positive infinity. So, para lang tayo nagpo-prove nung tulad kanina. Ang pinagkaiba lang ito, hindi na tayo gumagamit ng absolute value. Okay? Okay, so another example, number 2. Ipakita naman natin na yung limit ng 1 over x as x approaches 0 from the left is negative infinity, or x must not be equal to 0. Okay, so discussion. Given b less than 0, we want value for delta, positive delta, such that, okay, pansinin nyo to, 0 less than, mauuna yung c, yung 0 minus x less than delta implies 1 over x less than b, according to definition. So, gamitin natin to para mahanap natin yung delta. So, 1 over x less than b implies reciprocal uli, x greater than 1 over b. Okay? And, ang gawin natin, i-negate natin pareho. So, negative x less than negative 1 over b. Kasi yung x natin dito negative, di ba? Eh yung delta natin positive eh. Okay? So, let's choose delta to be negative 1 over b. Okay, yung ito. Okay, kasi yung 1 over b, pansinin nyo yung 1 over b dito, yung x daw mas mataas sa 1 over b. Okay? Kung yung x, which is negative kasi nasa left side ng 0, mas mataas sa 1 over b, ibig sabihin yung 1 over b natin negative. Okay? Kasi kung yung x negative, mas mataas siya dito, dapat negative din tong 1 over b. Kapag ilalet natin na yung delta 1 over b, edi mali na. Kasi yung delta natin ay positive. Kaya kailangan natin yung delta naka-negative 1 over b. Kasi yung 1 over b, negative yan. Para maging positive yung delta. Okay? So, dun tayo sa proof. So, given... isa pa pala ito, kitang-kita na pala. Yung b natin less than 0. Okay? Then, let's choose delta 1 over b. Then, from definition, this is 0 less than 0 minus x less than negative 1 over b implies negative 1 over x. Okay? Greater than, diniretso ka na kasi negative x is less than negative 1 over b. Reciprocal na natin, negative 1 over x greater than negative b. Multiply natin both sides by negative, magiging 1 over x less than b. So as you can see, 1 over x less than b, pasok sa definition. So therefore, limit 1 over x as x approaches 0 from the left is negative infinity.